Hi everyone, I'm Palash again, and today we're just going to have some fun. Usually while painting with kids, you can introduce them to oil pastels, crayons, right? Initially the kids love drawing and coloring, and it's a good way to transition them into painting. So we'll be just drawing some simple shapes and introducing paint with the crayon or the oil pastels, and we'll see how it goes. Simple shapes, simple bit of wash, and using regular brush, regular paint. This is a palette. It's quite messy, but the paint that I'm using is Camlin Artists watercolor 18 shades. So you can use that. Other ones, the ones that are the cakes, may not be of that great quality if they are students watercolor. At least in my opinion, I have found the artist watercolor to be a good beginner material, right? The others, the ones that are not below the student water palette, they have a tendency to kind of leave a white patch once they dry, and that's not great, right? So you wouldn't want your paint to look dried and with a washed out feel. So here we go. Regular water, then a regular normal brush. It's a round brush. There's a local brush. It's pretty good. It is synthetic. I can show you a couple of synthetic brushes. If you find brushes which are like this, right, these are synthetic, and it's quite easy to spot one. Most of the shops will have them. Now, if these are synthetic brushes, what are the other brushes? Just walk through. There might be some natural hair brushes. You'll also find them in brushes like these, right? So these are all natural hair. They usually use mongoose hair or hairs of animals. I've seen some goat hair brushes. There are some sable hair brushes, but these are the ones that you'll normally find. So it's okay to get a regular brush. Go for a round brush instead of the fancier ones. A round brush will improve your the quality of your strokes. Initially it's a good brush to start off, and once you are comfortable, then you can use the different brushes and practice with them. Okay, so what are we doing today? Just going to start with some colors and some random colors. We'll draw some trees. So how are we going to draw trees? Regular trees. Don't have to put a lot of thought into these trees. You can use any shape whatsoever, right? Just make sure that you like the shapes, and you can use any warm color. Now in between these, just to make things a little fun, we're going to draw half a house. Right, remember the roof is uneven. You make sure that whenever you're drawing, that you apply them with a little bit of force. Like here I haven't applied force, so it looks very grainy, but where there's a bit of force involved, it looks like a full line. Right? I leave this part grainy. We'll see what's the difference between something which has full force and then something which is slightly grainy. Cool. And here I'm going to just draw some pebbles. Now go wild with it. You can use pebbles of different colors. I've had students who wanted to use pink, who wanted to use purple. It's perfectly fine. And in the blue, some lines of white. You may not be able to see the white, but I'm going to pull the blue a little. Remember, this is for kids, so don't worry too much. Just have fun. And let's put a big rock. So done. And this is our drawing. Now we shall take paint when you're using paint, use clean water, a regular brush, have a piece of cloth where you can mop or wipe the brush with. Make sure you don't press or squeeze too hard. Be gentle on the brush, and while painting, make sure that your brush is gentle with the paper. Now this is a regular paper. This is not a thick paper. This is just a normal drawing book, not even painting paper. This is just regular drawing books that we find in any art store. So let me show you another one of these books. So this is my yellow drawing book. It's not a painting book, and it is very thin, right? So you'll have very thin pages. These are not meant for painting, but when you're starting off, you can definitely use any paper. Instead of having to buy expensive paper, I would recommend start off with any paper that you have, and as you get more confident, invest in good paper, good paint. Right? So here what are we doing? We're just going to have some fun. So what we're doing is we're using water. Usually the idea is to use paint first, right? But here we're going to use water, and then we're going to put different colors into the water. And what happens? We get some shapes, and we get some good designs or textures in the paint, right? And similarly, the exercise is to use water and different colors. The idea is to just introduce the kids to paint while having a good time. Do not worry about what colors they're using, it's okay, and don't worry if the colors are mixing with each other, that's fine. Alright, initially it's fun for them to get used to the fact that there'd be a lot of water being used in watercolors, right? One of the things that I've seen is usually people are a little stingy with water while using watercolors. I mean, that's totally counterproductive, right? So you need to know how to use water, how to be able to control it, but don't be scared of it. It's okay if the colors mix, it's alright. That's a part of the learning process, right? So now we've used water and we've put color in it, right? So now we're moving on to something else where we will just take water and use it with paint. Like I'm using light green. We'll use it with paint and see what is the difference. Let's say here I haven't put water, just like I had put earlier. I'm just using paint mixed with water. Remember, try to keep the strokes top to down. Usually kids have a tendency to go up. Advise them to come down. It's easier on the paper and it's easier on the hands as well, and the brush. Right? So, there you go. We're going to take some yellow. Yellow has almost become green. Now pulling the yellow down, but because it's mixing with the green, gives you a totally different shade, right? Don't worry about it. So keep mixing different colors, see what is the effect you get. Now at this point I'm using paint with water, and then the second half I will just take water and use the first method. Of course, I'm just mixing and matching the styles so that you're able to practice these, but you can choose to keep a consistent style as well, right? You do not have to use these in the order that I'm doing. So when I use two different styles, you see the difference in color here and difference in color here. It's the same color. The difference is here I have mixed the color with water and then evenly painted this. Here I have used water and then I have put the same color in even strokes around, but because the water quantity is more, it flows and the paint gets carried with the flow, right? So this gives you different textures. It's called runs. In some cases it's called bleeding as well in paint, but that's for a separate session. So this is basically to just enjoy and get a hands-on on how different colors react. So you can use different shades, right? I'm going to use a lot of water. You see? Excuse me. I'm going to use a lot of water and let it just dab it through. You see the droplets? And as I dab it through, you'll see that I'm using considerable amount of water, and when I'm using this water, the water keeps flowing down, right? So the paint also as a result keeps flowing down, and that is quite a fun thing for the kids. You can have them explore how the water flows. So let's say I'm taking a little bit of water here, and what color shall we have? Let me make some purple, and there you go. You see the effect? It's quite fun, and kids love experimenting with paint. They would usually go for the darker colors. So you can pull it down, you can choose to add more water to it, right? Don't worry if the colors mix. If you notice, the pink here is mixing with the purple, but the green, since this edge of the green is dry, it does not mix. So always keep in mind, if you want the colors to mix, the wetter the paint, the better. But if you do not want colors to mix, you can always keep it dry like this. And remember, there is no right or wrong way to paint a tree. I mean, if there's a certain tree that you're painting, then yes. But for kids, it's okay if the tree, goes haywire or runs amok. It's alright, because we want them to exercise their creativity. We do not want to block them into thinking that something must be drawn only in a particular way. I mean, of course, if there is something that has only one shape, then yes. But something like trees, grass, flowers, they can have various shapes. So let the kids, enjoy what they want to paint rather than having to conform to the norms. So the younger the kids, they would want to use a lot of different colors for a lot of different things, right? So don't worry about whether it is coming out right, not coming out right. Let them enjoy. As they enjoy the process, they will also enjoy how they're doing it. Correct? So down here, I'm going to apply a little paint, which is light brown. And what I'm doing is I'm applying light brown, and with light brown, I'm putting in some water, right? So when I do that, a lot of this color is also coming down. I can also choose to take green or any other color and continue this process without having to stick to a single color. Yeah. The more water is there. One of the things that I've also noticed is when kids are painting, they tend to take a lot of paint, which is not a bad thing, right? I'm also adding a couple of dots and watching them spread. And but some of the coming back to the thing that I wanted to say, some of the kids, when they grow a little old, they end up taking a lot of water, but they don't end up taking a lot of paint. So the idea is, they would, if I had to ask them to take green, what they would do is they would take water and then they would take green, but it would be very light, and when they apply it over a large area, the green becomes very dull, right? So how do we get past that? The idea is to take more color, mix the color with the amount of water that you've taken, and see if it is dark enough. More water means lighter color, more paint means darker color. So now I have more water and more paint, which means I have darker color. So do you see the difference in texture or difference in color? So that is how you can color this. Let me just take a bit of yellow or deep yellow and put it here. It's mixing. I'm getting a shade of. I'll take a little orange and let it mix in. Yeah. And let's put a bit of green around the house. Green with a lot of yellow. That will become light green. Initially you would have a lot of colors running away, not listening to you, but remember, it's alright. It's alright. Initially you will face this. I'm doing this on purpose here so that you don't feel lonely, but at any point in time, if the colors start running amok, don't worry. With time, you will get an idea of if the water will spread, if the water will not spread. But initially, it's okay. Just let them have fun. Let them experience how water spreads. It's okay for them to mix and have the water spread from one end to another, rather than face that when they're actually painting something that they don't want water to spill on or water to spread on, right? It's always good that way. Here we are going to use a little bit of red, mixing it with a little bit of orange. Orange with a little bit of yellow. So I get a slight brownish shade, and the water will be light blue with a lot of water. So what's going to happen when we are using blue? Remember the whites that we had put in? Yeah, the whites will show up once you put paint. So these two lines were the whites that I had put in. Yeah, it's okay to paint over the crayons or the oil pastels. And a couple of lines across the window. Now on the trees, you can choose to put different dots of different colors, some spread. Basically just have fun. Don't worry about the trees too much. They can take care of themselves. So we are just here to help the trees. In some cases these might not spread, which means this part would have dried. So if it is dried, you will get very solid dots which don't want to move anywhere, like these. And the places where they're wet, you see how they have merged into the previous green, right? So you can do this with different shades, you can do this with different colors, right? So let them have fun. See the difference? On the top, since we had used a wet on dry technique where we had mixed the paint, it is dried very quickly. But here down where we had not used, where we had used water first, there it is still wet. Yeah, there you go. Now while painting that, I have stepped on this. So what do we do with situations like these? Depending on the paper, you could either take color and apply it if it is wet and the paper can soak. If it does not, I would recommend you to let it dry. If the paper is too thin, if the paper is folding over, this is very thin paper, so you can see these runs, right, where the paper has folded up into a valley and the water has flown into it, right? So this means that this is very thin paper, right? When the paper is very thin, you don't mess with it too much, you don't use the brush a lot of time, you just use it once or twice, right? And there you go. There we have our simple picture. And what are the things that we need in a picture now? Probably some words, yeah, some lots of different colors as well here. And there we are, done. So with that, have a great day and happy painting. Don't worry, just get started off, and if your kid loves painting, introduce him to the world of paint. Let him enjoy himself. See you till the next time. Have fun.